So a mistake that is made a lot with Agile projects is that people expect accurate estimates from the very first day of the project. And this is totally the wrong approach, because the point of Agile estimating and planning is to get an overview of the work ahead and to create a shared understanding with your team of how you want to approach the project. In this video, I will show you a process that will allow you to estimate Agile Scrum projects within 50 minutes and with enough accuracy to actually start the projects. It will help you identify the risks of the project, create a shared understanding with your team, and prioritize and plan the next steps. By the way, hi, my name is Arthur. I'm the founder of Workshop Wednesday. And for today's video, I created another workshop in Miro where I'm going to walk you through in a bit. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more of it, then please do hit the like button below the video as well, because this really helps to grow the channel so that I can make more videos like this in the future. But enough talking, let's jump into Miro and go through the workshop. Okay, so this is the workshop in Miro, Agile Estimating in 15 minutes. If I zoom out, then you can see there are 8 steps, and we're going to end with a checkout where we're going to see if people are really confident about the estimations that they made in the workshop. But first, let's start at the beginning and start by what are we going to do actually. So the idea of this workshop is to quickly estimate a large number of work items on both value and effort. I will tell you in a bit what that means, value and effort. Why are we doing this? It's to get an overview of the project and everything that's ahead of us, and also to get a shared buy-in from the team who's actually going to develop the project, and also from the stakeholders of the project. And then also you want to identify the risks of the project and you can spot them pretty quickly, because that will help you to prioritize and plan the actual project. This approach gives the opportunity to find high alignment within the team and the stakeholders, but also high autonomy of approaching the things in the best possible way. And then who do you want to involve in these kind of workshops? The product owner or project manager or whoever is responsible for the vision of the project. The team actually developing the project. So this could be developers, but also designers, or basically anyone who's going to do the actual work to make the project a success. And then it's also possible to invite stakeholders, which will help you to get a better understanding of the value of the specific parts of a project. And of course, you need a facilitator. Probably if you're watching this video, then you are the facilitator. But if not, then send this video to the person in your team who's going to facilitate this workshop, because the facilitator will help to really follow the workshop guidelines and get the most out of the time you spend together. Now, when can you do this? You can do this at the start of a new project to quickly get an overview and to get an idea of what's ahead of you. But you can also do it during projects, and especially if there are large new initiatives. Now, before you actually start the workshop, you need to prepare your backlog. And you can do so by writing the specific work items on these post-its, or you can make use of a user story map like I showed in a previous video. I will link to the video below, because the user story map is also a great way to create more overview of the project and the different steps that are involved with the project. But for the sake of this video, let's go for these simple examples. And if you're the product owner, or if you're coaching the product owner, then make sure that the product owner actually prepared this before the workshop, because that will save a lot of time. And also it would be nice to already send a short message, for example with a video, to the team so that they know what the project is in a nutshell. And then in the start of the workshop, you don't lose a lot of time by getting people on board. In this case, we have 7 items that we're going to use for the example of this video, but usually you have 30, maybe even up to 50 items that you can estimate. Of course, if you're going to 50 items, then you need a little bit more time than the estimates that are in right now. So let's copy these items and then go through the rules. Rule 1, no talking. And that's actually the magic part of this workshop. Some people call this exercise magic estimation. It's magic because people are not allowed to talk, and this will remove a lot of discussions, and still they are able to flag the things where they're not sure about. And rule number 2, it's in line with that, no non-verbal communication. So you're not allowed to influence each other with these decisions. It's really about what you think about the specific work item. So if you're the facilitator, then make sure that these rules are followed and be strict about them, because otherwise you will definitely not achieve your time box. And if people do start talking during the workshop, then remind them that this is just to get an overview and that you have plenty of time after the workshop to go in depth about the specific work items. Okay, and then step 2, business value round 1. And the idea in this round is that within 2 to 5 minutes, because that's the time box, every work item has been estimated on how much value it brings to the business. We're going to do that by making use of these values over here. So 10,000 is the maximum value bringing to the business, and 100 is not so much value. If you're not sure, then you can put it in the question mark. And the idea here is that you want to do relative estimates. So it's not about hard euros or profit, but it's actually about how much value does this work item deliver compared to the other one. Is it the same? Are they both equally valuable, or is one more valuable than the other? So this is the first round of the workshop. So what you usually do is that you give everyone in the workshop a couple of post-its, which they're gonna plot on this chart. And remember them that they have to do it in silence. So at the end of the round, then usually you end up with something like this. And because of that, you can see pretty quickly that this work item to the person who placed it over here has way less value than the work items that were placed over here, maybe by the same person or maybe by someone else. What you will notice now is that people maybe disagree with each other and they maybe want to move each other's cards or maybe want to talk about it. But still try to remind them that we're doing this in silence, because in the next round we are able to move cards which you think should have a different value. So set another timer of 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how much work items there are and how many people are in the group. But set a timer, and then people are allowed to move each other's post-it. But the thing is that they can only move it one time per round. So let me give an example. Let's say I don't agree that this is 8,000, but I think it should be 10,000. Then I move it up here, and I also add a tag with the old value. So 8,000 was the old value. And in this way, you can see pretty quickly that this one has been moved from 8,000 to 10,000, and that there's disagreement about this specific card. So let's say in this example that only these things have been moved. So this one has been moved from 1,300 to 500, and this one has been moved from 8,000 to 10,000. Oh yeah, by the way, what I forgot to mention, if someone is really not sure about it, then they can also place it at the question mark. So if they have some questions about it, some clarifying questions, then they can do so like this, also in the first round. So now we're moving to the next round, which is to discuss the moved cards or the cards that are still at a question mark. And the trick is to don't go into detailed discussions, but just try to get quick clarification. And if that's not possible, then have a more detailed discussion outside of this workshop. This workshop is meant to get a quick overview, and if you need more detailed discussions, then do it so as a next step. And this is where the facilitator plays an important part, because if you just go wild, then people will continue and go in depth on specific cards. So what you want to do is to go through the cards that have been moved one by one and ask who moved it and why, and also ask who placed it and why they placed it over there. And if they can find alignment within a couple of seconds or a couple of sentences, then that's great. Then you can either remove the flag, because then you know that you have an agreement, or if they don't agree, then you just keep the flag, and then you know as the next step after this workshop, we have to do something with this card. So as a facilitator, you really need to take the lead and go through the cards one by one, and also keep the discussion short, and suggest to have a more detailed discussion outside of the workshop if people go too in-depth. So within 10 minutes, you have an overview of the most valuable parts of the project. And now as a next step, we're gonna do basically the same exercise, but then we're gonna estimate the effort of the work items. So what you can do is to copy these post-its. I like to keep them here as well, because then you have some reference. But what I usually do is to put them here in the question mark area. So they're in the question mark area now. And what we want to do in this round is to get relative estimates for these work items. So the work items stay in the same lane, but then you're going to estimate them on story points. And if story points are a new concept to you, then just subscribe to the channel, because I will explain story points in a future video pretty soon. But back to the workshop. So what you want to do is that in this round, the team who is involved with the workshop, they all get some work items again, which they have to place somewhere. And within the time box that you give them, they have to estimate the work items, which already have business value, but they have to estimate them in story points. And this is relative to each other again. So if they are pretty similar in the amount of work, then you put them in the similar column. But if they are different and the search by product is maybe way more difficult than the search by postal code, then you put it over here. And now you can see the difference between the two pretty quickly. So for this round, you want to have all the work items in a specific column for the story points. So let's do so. So this is the first round of estimating in story points. And again, people might disagree with each other, but they're not allowed to talk. So you want to give the team an opportunity to raise their concerns. And that's what we're going to do in round 2 again, where people are allowed to move the cards, and only the cards they think should have a different value. And then if they move it, they have to flag it, because then you can see the cards that have been moved. And also a card can only be moved 1 time per round. So let's say, for example, over here, someone doesn't agree that search by product is a relative estimate of 80, but it should be more at 13. Then you place it over here, and again you add a tag. And you can use a different color, because now you can see that this is moved from 80 to 13. And also it was moved in the previous round. So this is something where both on the value and the effort, there's maybe some disagreement. So that's the second round of story point estimation. And then you have an opportunity to discuss the moved cards again. But same as previous step with the business value, briefly go through them. Use a facilitator should take the lead and go through the cards one by one. Don't go into detailed discussions. Try to get quick clarification. And if that's not possible, have a more detailed discussion outside of the workshop. So what you're going to do, ask the person who moved it why they moved it. Ask the person who placed it at 80 why they placed it over there. Have a short discussion. If they agree, then you can remove the tag over here, because then it's just 13. But if they disagree, then you keep the tag, and then you can plan next steps after the workshop. And there you have it, in 50 minutes, an overview of your project with the highest valuable work items on the top and the easiest things to do on the left. And in this way, you can easily plan your releases and your next steps of the project. If you want to learn more about how you can do that, to define the strategy of your project and to plan and prioritize, then simply download the template of this workshop below this video. And then in a couple of weeks from now, I will send you a message about the course that I'm working on to plan the best possible strategy for your Agile projects. And don't forget to like this video if you really enjoyed it. Last step, which we already looked at, is to check out. So how confident are you about these estimations? And this will give you a pretty quick overview of the team and the confidence and the things you did in the workshop. So what you want to do is to ask them to write down their name and why they gave this score. And in this way, you can see pretty quickly how people think of the workshop and the project and the work that's ahead of you. And that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Peace.